Pull up a chair, friend. I need to tell you a story tonight. And this one is going to hurt. Not because it has a sad ending, but because of what happens in the middle. Because the middle is where most of us live, and the middle is where Job lived too. Now, I want you to picture a man.
I need to tell you a story tonight.
Not a king, not a superhero. Just a man named Job. He had everything. 10 children, thousands of animals, camels, sheep, cattle, so much land that he could stand in one place and not see the edge of what was his. His house was full of laughter. You know that sound? When your children come running and you can hear their feet on the floor before you see their faces. Job had that every single day. And he was good. I mean really good. Not the kind of good where you put on a show. The kind of good that lives in your bones. Every morning, before the sun came up, Job would wake and pray. Not just for himself, for his children, for his workers.
Father,
He would say, maybe my children have done something wrong in their hearts.
My children, come
Maybe
here.
they have forgotten God.
Home.
So he prayed for them. Every single morning. Can you feel that love? That man was not just rich. He was full. But here is the thing about having everything.
There is enough for everyone.
The world sees
Thank
it.
you, sir.
And sometimes
May peace
the
be
world
upon
takes
your
notice.
house.
One day, it all started to fall apart. But it did not fall apart slowly, friend. It fell apart like a house in a storm, like all the walls come down at the same time. A man ran to Job. His face was wet with sweat. His clothes were torn. Your oxen were stolen, he said, breathing hard. The raiders came and killed the workers. Everyone is dead. Job did not have time to feel that pain, because before he could even cry out, another man came running. Fire fell from the sky, he yelled. It burned all your sheep. It burned your workers too. They are all gone. And then another came. Thieves on horses. They took your camels, 3,000 of them. Gone. But the worst was still coming. The worst always comes last. A man came through the door, and his face told you everything before his words did. His eyes were red. His mouth was shaking. Your children, he said quietly.
Your oxen,
They were eating
stolen.
and drinking wine at
The
your
raiders
oldest
killed
son's
everyone.
house. There was a
They are all
great wind.
dead.
It came from the desert. It knocked the house down. All 10 of your children. They are all dead. Can you understand that, friend? Not one child gone. All 10. At the same time. The boy and the girl. The youngest and the oldest. All of them. Gone. Job stood there. He did not scream. He did not fall to the ground right away. He just stood there. And then he tore his clothes. That was what you did when the world ended. You tore your clothes and fell to the earth. He shaved his head. And then he said something that I want you to remember. He said, I was born with nothing. I will die with nothing. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Now, I know what you are thinking. Okay, he accepted it. He moved on. The story is over. But no, friend, the story is just beginning. Because God had not finished testing him. Because there is a difference between losing things and losing yourself. A few days passed. Job was sitting with other people who came to cry with him. They did not speak. They just sat there. But then something started to happen to Job's body. It started with small sores. Then it spread. His skin broke open. Sores covered him from his head to his feet. He could not sleep. He could not eat. Every part of his body hurt. He took a piece of broken pottery and scraped at the sores. He sat in ashes like a man who was already dead. And his wife, the woman who had been by his side, she looked at him and said something cold. She said, "Just curse God and die. Why do you still hold on to him?" But Job said, "No. If we take the good from God, should we not also take the bad? Then 3 men came. They were his friends. They sat with him for 7 days and 7 nights without speaking. They could see the pain was too big for words. But on the 7th day, Job opened his mouth and spoke. And when he did, the real storm began. "Why was I born?" he cried out. "Why did I not die in my mother's womb? Why did the light come to my eyes if this was going to be my life? Why did God give me days only to fill them with pain?" And his friends, they tried to help. They said, "Job, you must have done something wrong. God does not hurt people for no reason. What have you done?" But Job knew the truth. He said, "I have done nothing wrong. I have lived a good life. I have helped the poor. I have fed the hungry. I have been kind to the ones no one else would help. And
Where
still,
is the God who
this happened
sees
to me.
this?
So where is the God who sees
makes
this?
it mean something?
Where is the God who makes it mean something?" Do you hear that, friend? That is the real question. Not, why am I hurting? But, why does the hurt not mean anything? Why does good not lead to good? Why does kindness not buy you safety? And Job would not be quiet. For days he spoke. He was angry. He was confused. He was broken. He asked God, "Why do you hide your face from me? Why do you treat me like your enemy?" His friends kept saying the same thing. "You must have sinned. God is just. You must have done something." But Job said, "No, I am righteous. I know this in my heart, and yet I am suffering. So either God is not good, or God is not just, or God does not see me at all." That is the edge, friend. That is where Job stood, and he did not look away. For weeks, months maybe, Job sat in the dirt and questioned. He did not pretend. He did not say nice words to make himself feel better. He said the hard truth out loud. And in doing that, he was more honest with God than most of us ever are. And then God spoke, not with an answer, not with an explanation. God spoke with a question. "Where were you when I laid the ground of the earth?" God said. "Do you know how the light came into the world? Do you know how the rain falls? Do you know why the star stays where it is? Do you know the heart of any animal that walks this earth?" And Job was silent, because God was not explaining. God was asking Job to see how big the world is, to see how small his understanding was, to see that there are things happening that he could never control, that there are reasons deeper than pain, that there is a world that moves and breathes and grows, and Job is part of it, but not the center of it. "I have heard of you by the hearing of my ear," Job said, "but now my eye sees you, and I take back everything. I am dust and ashes. But here is the thing, friend, that was not the end, because after Job stopped asking why and started listening, after he gave up trying to explain and just let himself be held by something bigger than himself, something changed. God said to his 3 friends, "You have not spoken of me what is right, like my servant Job has. Job has told the truth, even when it hurt, even when it made no sense. He would not lie about his pain to make me look good, and that took more faith than all your nice words ever did." And then Job got back what he lost. He had new children, 7 sons and 3 daughters.
Look at
They were
the little
beautiful.
lamb.
And Job lived to see his great-great-grandchildren. He lived a long, full life. His health came back. His house was full of noise and laughter again. But here is what I want you to know, friend. The story does not say that Job forgot his pain. It does not say that his old children came back. It does not say that losing everything suddenly made sense. What it says is that Job kept going, that he lived, that he loved again, that he had joy again, even though he knew how easy it was to lose it all. That is the thing about trials, you see. They do not usually end with answers. They end with the choice to live anyway, to trust anyway. Not because life makes sense, but because life is worth living, even when it does not make sense, even when you are covered in sores and sitting in ashes, even when you have no idea why this happened to you. Job learned something that night when God spoke to him from the storm. He learned that he did not need to understand everything to believe in something. He learned that faith is not about having all the answers. Faith is about standing in the dark and choosing to believe that there is still light, even when you cannot see it. The fire is dying now, friend. But Job's story, it does not end in the ash and the dust. It ends with a man who has seen the worst of life and chooses to live anyway. It ends with sorrow that becomes wisdom. And it ends with this: no matter how hard the world hits you, no matter how much is taken from you, you are still here. You are still breathing. And that, in the end, might be the greatest victory of all. The night is cold, and the pain is real. But the morning will come. It always does.